You're traveling through another world. A world not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. Your next stop, the world of darkness. I'm sure most of you have already heard of this game, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, which I'm just going to call Bloodlines because that's a mouthful. It's an RPG adapting the tabletop rules of the same name within the greater World of Darkness setting. I figured now would be a good time with the second one now released. World of Darkness is a tabletop RPG setting with rules for vampires and all manner of supernatural entities. More specifically, though, World of Darkness has an explicit focus on cities, falling into a niche subgenre called urban fantasy. Urban fantasy is a lot of fun because it ascribes the dangers of a city to supernatural and unexplainable things, as opposed to the equally unexplainable yet mundane dangers of junkies and criminals. That wasn't a police raid on a trap house, that was actually a blood hunt for a vampire who was using the cartel as a front. The lights going out on my street are actually the spirit of a girl tragically killed in a drunk driving accident. A lot of World of Darkness is taking urban legends and just running with the idea they are real, which I think is a lot of fun. It allows you to play in a familiar world while also allowing you to casually blame all the world's problems on werewolves, ghosts, witches, and vampires. Speaking of which, vampires are the source of all your problems in this game. After a night at one of the many bars or clubs around LA, you're turned into whichever vampire clan you chose during character creation. After a quick tutorial from Joe DiMaggio, who does a great job, I might add,
what a scene, man!
you're thrown into Santa Monica to do bitch work for the prince. When you click New Game, you get the choice of creating a character from scratch or doing a little quiz to see what clan you might like. I went with a custom character because I intended to do a Tremere gun wizard to make the sewers easy. After doing all that, you get dropped into the game where you'll primarily be in a first-person perspective, occasionally going third-person for melee combat. Which is pretty basic, there's no combos, and it can feel like you just flail at things until they die. The guns, however, I really like. They have a gradual narrowing of the aiming reticle tied to your ranged weapon skill, which feels just like Deus Ex. I can see how this puts some people off, but I think it's a nice compromise to make your firearm skill reflect in gameplay outside of just being able to equip a new gun.
God bless the Allegiance flag!
Firefights can get a little interesting, especially as a Tremere if you play as liberally with your blood magic as me. You end up wanting to kill everyone quickly, but still keep your blood topped up, which can clash with wanting to do John Woo shit in Chinatown. Overall, the combat is more fun than I think other people give it credit for. Combat is a requirement to beat the game, but you can sneak past or talk past a lot of your problems. All in all, the game really expressed the versatility of the Source engine despite being an early, technically unfinished version of it. The version of Source they had being incomplete leads to some graphical glitches, usually seeing an NPC phase across reality while they're placed during an area load, or their psychotic stares.
Hey you! You want your fortune read? You give me $5, I give you secret Chinese enlightenment.
Otherwise, I encountered no game-breaking bugs as I got my copy on GOG, which integrates the unofficial community patch. The game's visual fidelity is good for the year it came out, and leans heavily into the goth subculture and gothic architecture, with occasional dips into Baroque and Rococo styles. A lot of the city looks like they spend all their weekends in the Hot Topic, contrasting with the havens of vampires, such as the prominently displayed biblical paintings amongst the gold and sky blue colors of the prince's penthouse. The contrast helps accentuate the otherworldly nature and the refinement vampire society views itself with. It helps them place themselves above humans by surrounding themselves with artistic representations of heaven. I really enjoy the varied but cohesive nature of the world. I never feel a disconnect walking out of Venture Tower into the trash-filled streets of downtown LA. Now the second half of creating an immersive environment, the sound and music. A lot of the music is understated nighttime wandering music. Each section has its own street theme that's flavored around where it is, and every club has its own song too. There's a good variety of music, most of it originally composed, but they did license 9 tracks, which are the club tracks with a couple others. The genres range from lightly jazzy nighttime walk music to late 90s electronic club music to going straight up industrial metal with a band called the Jenny Torturers, which plays in the last round. Going past the music, though, you are going to feel some fucking surreal moments in this game, as they do have some of the source stock sounds present. I would say the sound design is passable in terms of guns and magic, but the ambient sounds are top notch and break up the monotony of having one song loop in the streets. There's going to be no spoilers here, as I view the plot of Bloodlines as if it were a computer adaptation of a starter module for the tabletop RPG. Its job is to introduce you to the setting, give you some fun things to do, and then give you a big payoff or fuck up depending on your luck or skill. While the components of the story are interesting, I never found the plot itself compelling, and was always more invested in vampire culture itself. Like, I'm sorry, I've just done the ancient evil MacGuffin thing many times before, and the questions of how vampire society survives under the nose of mankind are just way more compelling to me. So instead of giving you a tired plot summary of the game most of you have already played, and many more of you have already seen a review of, I thought I'd introduce you to my favorite edition of the rules, which is also what Bloodlines adapts. Okay, that's not 100% accurate. Bloodlines adapts the revised second edition of Vampire, and even then shaves a lot of the edges off. It's mostly streamlined, but for all intents and purposes, you'll be playing the same game. So the 20th anniversary rules were printed in 2011, so they should be pretty easy to get your hands on in any manner and methods. There's even self-filling character sheets. I'm going to be using the interactive V20 single-page sheet by Mr. Gone, which I'll link down below. There are 2 and 4-page sheets, but for our purposes, we won't be getting into those mechanics. I'm just going to be creating a paper sheet of my Tremere you saw me using in gameplay clips to keep things simple. I'm going to be leaving a lot out of actually playing the game. I just want to show you how easy it can be to have a vampire made in under an hour. You're going to see concept, and it might confuse you at first, but it's literally just, what do I want to be? So my concept's very simple. Gun wizard. Don't be afraid to get more creative than I did. Next up is obviously your clan, which will determine what disciplines you can train at the start. Going with the gun wizard concept, I chose Tremere, because that was the only choice in Bloodlines. However, if you have the expansions, and even the core book, you could, for example, choose a Samisi, which would force you to justify in your concept why you're not with the Sabbat if you didn't want to side with that sect. For example, I had an independent Samisi who worked as a coroner and found the perfection of the human form to be his calling. The clan you choose dictates a lot of the flavor for your character and how you'll engage with the world, so be sure to thoroughly read up on each clan before making that choice. Next is your nature and demeanor. Think of this as the vampire's equivalent to an alignment chart, except everyone has different flavors of evil or neutral. Just like an alignment chart, though, you should just use this as a compass rather than a Bible for how your character acts. The choice you pick for nature, and only your nature, determines how you restore your willpower. Demeanor is how you publicly present, while your nature is how you act in private scenarios, building on the theme of the Masquerade that unifies all the vampire concepts and rules. Now that we got the foundations of our Tremere Gun Wizard laid down, we can start on assigning the attributes. This is done on a priority pick system, with you having 3 levels of priority for the category of attribute and 3 different attribute categories: physical, social, and mental. 7 points for high priority, 5 points for medium priority, and 3 points for low priority. You're going to start seeing the difference between the tabletop and the computer game at this point. You actually start out weaker overall in Bloodlines than you would with a standard neonate character on the tabletop. Since I want to be a gun wizard, my first priority is going to be mental attributes, followed by physical, and then social. I didn't do much talking because I had dominate as a discipline to compensate. After assigning our attributes, we get to abilities. It would be simpler for me to one-to-one compare this to the skills in Dungeons & Dragons, but that wouldn't be very accurate. You have 3 categories of ability, and you also choose priority, just like attributes. Your high priority gets 13 points, medium gets 9, and low gets 5. An extra rule to abilities is you cannot, at this stage, raise any ability beyond 3 dots. You will be allowed to spend freebie points on that later though. My highest priority is knowledge, next is skills, and my lowest is going to be talents. Advantages, just like the rest of your sheet, come in 3 distinct categories. However, you don't get a priority pick for points to spend on these, as they're the same every time. You are free to spend these points as you wish though. Up to 3 disciplines can be selected as long as it's listed on your clan page, up to 5 background traits, which are your mundane resources, and finally, your 7 points to spend on the 3 virtues. Virtues are how you resist a temptation to give in to the beast, which is the basal nature of all vampires. During play, this is how you restore your humanity and prevent frenzying, as well as contributing to your willpower in the case of the virtue of courage. Since I'm a Tremere, the disciplines I get are Dominate, Thaumaturgy, and Auspex. I only chose 3 background traits, but chose to spend all 5 of my points on it. I got 3 points in Mentor.
Greetings, neonate.
As many Tremere directly study under more senior clanmates in their chantries. To further complement this, I got a single point in Domain and a single point in Resources. If you choose not to take the Generation background at this moment, you'll default to a 13th Generation Vampire. For my virtues, I put 3 points into Self-Control, 3 points into Courage, and finally just 2 points into Conscience. Okay, now after all of that, we're finally at the finishing touches stage. Here you get 15 freebie points to spend, which can be spent on anything. At the Game Master's discretion, of course, but generally you're free to use these points as you wish. Before we get to that though, we need to determine the derived stats, like humanity and willpower. Humanity is the sum of your self-control and conscience virtue scores, which leaves me with a 6 in humanity. Next is your willpower, which is just your total courage score, leaving me with 4. After both of those is your blood pool, which is the only time you will ever roll a die in character creation. You roll a single 10-sided die, which determines the amount of blood you start with. The digital dice roller I used fucked me, so I got 5 blood points. Additionally, this can be supplemented with the generation background trait, which increases the max blood you can have in your pool, and even able to spend more in a turn if you have enough points in it. Now that we're finished with the basic math, we can get back to freebie points. You can spend these on any trait on your sheet, but it will have a variable cost related to that, and they list those on page 82 of the core rulebook. Since I like being wiggy with the blood magic, and it only costs 1 point per dot for backgrounds, I'm going to put 5 dots into the generation background, which puts me at an 8th generation. I'm also going to give myself an extra dot in Thaumaturgy, and then dump the rest into willpower, so that's 7 points spent for 1 more discipline dot, and the last 3 dots to make my gun wizard fearless. If you somehow think that you can't make the vampire you want, even with the freebie points, your Game Master may allow you to take up to 7 flaws, which will award you extra based on how detrimental it is. The rulebook takes some extra time to bang on about how role-playing is what animates your character, but for all intents and purposes, we're done with character creation. Now get out there and be somebody! Going back to Bloodlines now, I really love the game. It does an excellent job of streamlining the rule set so it can get out of the way while you enjoy a very fun game with fantastic writing. The tabletop RPG is also special to me, as it offers a very unique brand of escapism, one where the mundane is actually a carefully constructed lie to keep all of mankind ignorant of true evil that lives amongst them. Then it drags you kicking and screaming into the World of Darkness. Especially if you take a look at the other World of Darkness companion rule sets, like Hunter or Wraith. I know I didn't talk too much about the video game this time, but that's just because it's so famous. I felt it would be more enjoyable to introduce you to the tabletop RPG. Maybe you can get your friends together and have your own Bloodlines-style adventure. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments, questions, or recommendations down below, and have a happy Halloween.